It may surprise you to hear this, but if you're reading this now, it's no coincidence. A powerful force, deeply aware of the wrongs done against you, has stepped in to deliver a decisive judgment. By watching for at least 12 minutes, you affirm that you're prepared to receive the full benefits of this crucial message. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and comment 77 to show the universe you're open. Then in your own words, leave another comment saying, "Ready for what's next." Taking these steps brings immediate, tangible rewards and marks the beginning of a transformative new chapter. Chapter 1. Before this intervention, you felt the weight of mounting pressure. You were already navigating one challenge after another, perhaps financial struggles, strained relationships, or the unsettling feeling that every opportunity slipped through your fingers. At times, you questioned your own reality. Were you truly that unfortunate, or was someone deliberately placing obstacles in your path to hold you back? Then in a flash of raw clarity, you realized certain individuals, enemies whether discreet or blatant, had set themselves against you, turning small inconveniences into full-blown battles. The sheer weight of it could have crushed you had you not possessed the resilience of a chosen one. At first you tried to keep your composure. You told yourself adversity was normal, that everyone faces setbacks. Yet each day brought fresh sabotage. Maybe a coworker twisted your words, or a supposed friend spread rumors that compromised your character. These daily pinpricks of negativity chipped away at your spirit. You prayed to God for relief, feeling as though no one truly grasped how deep this sabotage ran. You suspected a spiritual dimension, a sense that you were under targeted attack by forces more sinister than typical office gossip or social drama. You reached a crucial juncture where endurance alone wasn't enough. You cried out for a higher power, whether through quiet prayers or anguished midnight pleas. "I can't fight these enemies on my own." Your heart confessed. The Matrix might label that as weakness, but you, being a chosen one, sensed that such vulnerability could unlock divine intervention. So you opened yourself to the possibility that a higher authority, a powerful force you cannot name, would step in, outraged at the injustice unfolding around you. It was at this moment that everything began to shift. A subtle calm replaced your internal chaos. Oddly enough, you found renewed willpower, not just to survive, but to push back. You started taking small yet decisive steps, perhaps telling a manipulator no for the first time, or exposing a lie that once held you hostage. With each step, your confidence grew, though you still sensed you needed an even mightier ally in your corner. Often you read or heard stories about chosen souls who overcame impossible odds once they surrendered the fight to God. You started to believe that might be your path too. Then, almost without warning, changes rippled through your environment. Those who maligned you faced unexpected setbacks. Some retracted their accusations. Others stumbled on their own falsehoods. You didn't gloat, but you recognized that a moral rebalancing was underway. That's when you heard or sensed news. A figure of immense authority had noticed your tribulations. Deeply disgusted by the cruelty inflicted on you, this was no mild disapproval. It carried the weight of destiny, the same cosmic scale that judges right from wrong. You realized in that startling instant that your enemies, those who undermined your growth, stood on perilous ground, and you, against all odds, were about to rise from adversity with a shield stronger than any you'd ever known. Chapter 2. Your hope flickered just as judgment arrived. You had almost resigned yourself to the possibility that your life might remain in a perpetual loop of conflict, forever pushing against hidden saboteurs or direct foes. You'd begun to accept a degree of struggle as your norm. Yet a tiny spark of hope refused to extinguish. It whispered that you were meant for better, that you deserved more than the ceaseless battles. At times you'd bury it under layers of self-doubt, because entertaining that hope only made the letdown sting worse. But still, it burned, an unyielding flame in the corner of your heart. In the thick of your struggles, you might have felt invisible, overlooked by those with the power to help or intervene. You questioned why people with influence seemed oblivious while your enemies grew bolder, confident their deeds would go unpunished. It infuriated you that so many turned a blind eye, leaving you to fend off these orchestrated attacks alone. Secretly, you wondered if you lacked something crucial that would earn the aid of a guardian or ally. But then, in what felt like a random moment, you started noticing subtle changes. People who once dismissed you began to show cautious respect. A rumor that could have destroyed your credibility boomeranged onto the person who started it. Opportunities you had pursued suddenly found you, like a role in a project or a position at work that increased your visibility. At first, you brushed it off as a fluke, but as these events piled up, you recognized the pattern. It wasn't random. Something or someone with genuine power seemed to be championing your cause, orchestrating repercussions for your adversaries. That's how you discovered this powerful man, a symbol of higher authority or maybe an influential figure with the moral clarity to spot injustice, had finally stepped in. He was disgusted by what your enemies tried to do. You don't know if it's because he saw evidence of their betrayals or if a supernatural revelation pricked his conscience, but the outcome is undeniable. He decided your opponents must face the consequences. It wasn't mere sympathy, it was righteous indignation, the kind that brings about swift accountability. This wave of external backing arrived just as your hope was on the verge of dwindling. You see, it often goes that in your darkest hour, your unwavering inner voice triggers the universe to deploy reinforcements. And so, your faint hope merged with divine timing, yielding the judgments and protections you'd almost stopped praying for. The Matrix might call it luck, but you sense a deeper orchestration, God or cosmic law ensuring that enough is enough. And you, once overshadowed by relentless assaults, you stand in line for a reversal that dwarfs any previous trouble. Encouraged by this shift, you realize your hope wasn't foolish or misplaced, it was a beacon. And the moment your heart released that final grain of faith, neither bitter nor vengeful, heaven responded by dispatching a powerful authority, disgusted by the injustice swirling around you. That synergy between your internal flame of belief and external moral might was precisely what shattered the illusions your enemies wove. Now, with this man's judgment in motion, you're poised to ascend to a realm of favor they never imagined you could reach. Chapter 3. You recalled every injustice they piled on you. You tried to move on from the mounting injustices, telling yourself to let bygones be bygones. But the weight of what they did haunted you in quiet moments. Your memory flickered to times they spread lies or twisted your words to isolate you from potential allies. You remembered their smug expressions when they cornered you with manipulative ultimatums. The worst part was how effectively they masked their malice, some smiling to your face while undermining you behind closed doors. You wondered if you were paranoid, but each new betrayal proved you weren't imagining things. Seeing how methodical they were, a part of you grew furious at the universe, questioning why so much cruelty could go unchallenged. You prayed for justice but felt nothing shift. Eventually, you resolved to handle things yourself. You mustered your remaining energy to refute rumors or patch up sabotage at work. At times, you played detective, gathering evidence of their wrongdoing, hoping to present it to someone who'd care. Yet each step felt like a treadmill, a struggle with no end in sight. Sometimes you succumbed to moments of bitterness, fantasizing about revenge. But your conscience, shaped by faith in God's principles, whispered that vengeance belonged not in your hands. You waged an internal war, teetering between righteous anger and the moral code that a chosen one must uphold. The Matrix thrives on turning victims into vindictive souls, perpetuating cycles of harm. You resisted that temptation, though it cost you sleepless nights and emotional exhaustion. In your darkest hours, you combed through each slight, questioning what you could have done differently to avoid their onslaught. Did you overshare personal details? Did you fail to set boundaries early on? Some regrets stung deeply, yet you gleaned lessons. Next time, you'd be more discerning, more guarded with your vulnerabilities. While painful, these reflections sharpened your intuition about who to trust. You realized the silver lining. You were forging a resilience no trivial adversity could undo. Eventually, you recognized that these relentless injustices had forced you to rely on spiritual truth more than ever. You found yourself leaning on higher wisdom, letting prayer and intuition guide your daily steps. This shift from self-reliance to divine reliance didn't remove the heartbreak, but it reoriented your perspective. You perceived that God might be allowing these trials to shape you into someone unstoppable, someone who, by virtue of unwavering integrity, would eventually stand tall when your adversaries collapsed under the weight of their own schemes. Reflecting on each dirty trick they deployed, you felt both indignation and a strange compassion. Indignation for the brazen ways they tried to break you, compassion for how lost someone must be to stoop that low. Still, you concluded that your path must diverge from theirs. You wouldn't stoop to their level, nor would you wallow in pity. It was time for your story to pivot. Little did you know the cosmic forces, in tandem with a powerful figure of moral authority, were orchestrating that pivot. All the logs you kept of their wrongs, every memory etched in your mind, had been noted by heaven. And soon the judgment you so fervently craved would manifest, restoring the balance you feared had vanished from the world. Chapter 4. You caught wind of a powerful man's disgust. Word reached you in a whisper. A high-ranking figure, whether in your professional circle or a spiritual community, had become aware of the ongoing vendetta against you. You didn't know how they discovered the truth. Maybe a mutual acquaintance leaked details, or they observed inconsistencies in your adversary's stories. All you knew was that this person, carrying weight and influence, expressed outrage at what had been inflicted on you. And not the mild type of annoyance that fizzles out, but a profound disgust that demanded immediate action. At first, you doubted if it meant anything. People express displeasure all the time, then do nothing. But soon you saw signs that his disapproval wasn't just talk. Doors that had been sealed swung open with surprising speed. Tasks that used to be blocked got cleared, and your daily environment felt less oppressive. It was like a protective hand rearranged the chessboard, cutting off your enemy's advantages. You noticed your adversaries grew uneasy, like they sensed a higher authority was about to call them out. Their once smug confidence evaporated under a wave of fear, or at least caution. Still, you remained cautious. The Matrix often lures chosen ones with false hope, only to let them down once more. But each passing day confirmed that this powerful man's influence ran deep. His disgust at their behavior wasn't a fleeting emotion. It fueled a systematic dismantling of the illusions your enemies created. Perhaps new rules were enforced that prevented them from bypassing accountability, or a crucial ally turned their back on them, severing the support they relied on to orchestrate your downfall. That shift also gave you a strange sense of relief. You realized you'd been shouldering the burden of exposing these conspiracies alone. Now, someone with legitimate clout was stepping in, reinforcing your moral stance. You didn't rejoice in your enemy's discomfort. You simply exhaled, grateful that your integrity had finally found a formidable shield. God uses many vessels to bring justice, and in this scenario, he seemed to have chosen a flesh and blood figure disgusted enough to ensure that your persecutors faced a reckoning. As your confidence rebounded, you noticed how easily the universe could shift the narrative once the right person aligned with truth. This reaffirmed that your quiet perseverance, your refusal to stoop to vengeance, was never in vain. Heaven orchestrated the perfect moment, using this man's authority to make a statement. Attempts to sabotage a chosen one won't go unnoticed forever. You'd been invisible to some, but not to God, and not to those who carry a righteous sense of responsibility. Yet you weren't naive. You recognized some adversaries cling stubbornly to their old habits. They might try last-ditch efforts to save face or retaliate in smaller ways. But this man's disgust had unmasked them to influential circles, drastically reducing their power. It was like a net tightened around them, forcing accountability for every falsehood they spun. You, meanwhile, stepped forward with renewed fervor, trusting that no matter how cunning your enemies once seemed, they now faced a moral high ground that dwarfs their schemes. You're free to focus on growth, assured that the potent backing you've gained signals not just temporary relief, but a long-term shift in your favor. Chapter 5. You relinquished vengeance and found freedom. You'd fantasized about confronting your foes head-on, maybe exposing their hypocrisy in front of everyone who believed their lies. Rage burned in your gut, urging you to set things right by any means necessary. But each time you neared the tipping point, a deeper voice inside whispered caution. Part of you understood that vengeance can backfire, trapping you in the same negativity you sought to escape. Ultimately, you surrendered that impulse. You turned your retribution over to God, trusting that cosmic justice would do what your personal fury couldn't. That surrender felt both relieving and terrifying. Relieving because you no longer had to carry the weight of revenge fantasies. Terrifying because letting go meant you risked never seeing them pay for what they did. The Matrix feeds on that fear, fueling a cycle of retaliations that keep everyone stuck. Breaking that cycle was tough. You wondered if your gentle stance made you a perpetual target. Yet strangely, the moment you gave up chasing payback, you felt a surge of spiritual empowerment. It was as if heaven took the bat you dropped and said, "Watch us run with it." After relinquishing vengeance, you noticed how your mind cleared. No more sleepless nights plotting scenarios, no more guilty daydreams imagining them groveling. Freed from that mental chatter, you redirected your energies to self-improvement. Maybe you took an online course, invested time in a creative project, or reconnected with supportive friends. The new sense of mental space allowed fresh ideas, joys, and even unexpected blessings to enter your realm. Where grudges had clogged your psychic channels, letting go opened them wide for positivity. This shift didn't mean you excused your enemy's behavior. You still despised their cruelty, but you refused to let it anchor you in bitterness. In the vacuum left by your anger, a quiet calm expanded. You marveled at your ability to progress without their negativity looming over your every thought. That sense of emotional autonomy blossomed into greater confidence. If your spirit remained unyoked to revenge, you were truly unstoppable, no longer reacting to them but forging your own path. Meanwhile, unknown to you, a powerful figure was gathering evidence of their wrongdoings, or at least observing the moral imbalance with growing contempt. Because you had relinquished vengeance, the universe orchestrated an official or spiritual authority to act on your behalf. It's like a cosmic agreement. Once you release destructive intentions, you permit higher forces to handle the final verdict. So while your adversaries took your calm for weakness, they had no clue your quiet stance was summoning a far more potent form of judgment than your personal wrath could ever wield. That sense of freedom underscored every decision you made. You broke free from an emotional prison, no longer consumed by the need to settle the score. Instead, you devoted energy to the life you wanted, forging healthy relationships, exploring new opportunities, even rediscovering parts of yourself lost to previous trauma. In that liberation, you drew a line, signaling to heaven you'd outgrown the petty cycles the Matrix loves. And with that clarity, the stage was set for unstoppable breakthroughs. Indeed, the universe recognized that a spirit unburdened by vengeance is the perfect vessel for massive blessings. Chapter 6. He witnessed the downfall of deception. It began quietly, a slip of the tongue here, an incriminating clue there. From the outside, it seemed your enemy was simply unlucky, but you sensed a deeper design. Their once impenetrable facade was cracking, orchestrated by the same powerful moral force disgusted by their actions. Where they once stood invincible, they now scrambled to contain hard-hitting truths, evidence that illusions never last. You felt a twinge of pity, recalling your own pain at their hands, yet you also recognized justice unfolding. Their downfall wasn't your personal revenge, it was the natural outcome of sowing deceit. Seeds of deception bear rotten fruit, and their unraveling was a cosmic echo. Unscrupulous games always end in exposure. They had never expected true consequences, believing nobody powerful enough would care. But the influential figure's condemnation ended their immunity. Allies who once backed the sabotage fled, unwilling to share the blame. Isolated and stripped of influence, your adversaries experienced a swift reversal of fortunes, finding themselves deserted where they once wielded considerable control. You felt relief more than triumph. Freed from their interference, you tackled tasks that had stalled. If you'd lost clients or peace of mind, new opportunities emerged to recover. It was as if a dam burst, letting blessings rush into your life now that negativity no longer blocked the flow. Others wondered if you'd engineered their collapse, but you had simply stood firm, trusting God's timing even when urged to retaliate. You refused. Witnessing how truth dismantled their lies affirmed that chosen ones need not resort to malice. The universe's moral balance accomplishes justice far more thoroughly than underhanded methods ever could. In the end, seeing their downfall fortified your faith in a higher order. Enemies can appear untouchable for a season, but illusion cannot prevail indefinitely. Their cunning disintegrated beneath the weight of truth, while your integrity paved the way for greater blessings. You stride forward, unburdened, confident that deception always yields to light in a universe governed by unbreakable moral laws. Chapter 7. You embrace the next season of breakthrough. Released from sabotage and suffocating negativity, you sense the dawn of a new chapter. You feel lighter, excited even, ready to revisit shelved goals and dare bigger dreams. You interpret your freedom as divine permission for expansion, creativity, and deeper connections. Suddenly, multiple doors beckon, an unexpected job prospect you once hesitated to pursue, or a relationship possibility overshadowed by past scars. With no enemies blocking your view, you seize these openings. That doesn't mean rushing blindly. You move with the confidence that comes from survival, carefully discerning each opportunity's alignment with your soul. Adversity has sharpened your instincts. By the sixth sense, you now detect manipulative energies at a glance. If a person or situation resonates with your refreshed spirit, you embrace it. If it triggers caution, you walk away unapologetically. This dynamic way of living keeps your energy balanced, preventing a slide back into old pitfalls. You also realize how your story can uplift others. People facing betrayal or injustice seek your advice, drawn by the empathy in your voice. You share your journey not from bitterness, but from genuine compassion. Your past trials become a guiding light, offering hope to those stuck in darkness. Ironically, where once you felt helpless, you've become a mentor, bolstered by a testimony of resilience. Meanwhile, the powerful figure who deemed your enemies unfit may stay in your orbit or fade into the background. Either way, you recognize his intervention as an earthly echo of a higher verdict. Grateful, yet not dependent. You anchor in God's unwavering justice. Each day you walk forward expecting miracles, knowing the matrix scoffs at such faith. But chosen ones understand that bold belief invites extraordinary outcomes. With success blossoming, you remain vigilant against arrogance. You remember how your surrender at rock bottom called forth divine intervention. Staying humble preserves the harmony that carried you from captivity to freedom. Each morning, you wake grateful for the forces that transformed your struggles into growth, and each night, you reaffirm your commitment to love, integrity, and compassion, the core of the chosen one's journey. Now the horizon stretches wide before you. Your spirit is free, your mind ignites with new ideas, and your heart is full of gratitude. Enemies who once played a central role in your story now become mere footnotes in your triumphant narrative. As you continue forward, every day brings new blessings, confirming that when heaven is on your side, no challenge can stand in your way. You embrace this breakthrough season with full certainty that your destiny is being rewritten beyond your previous limits.